Welcome to Heartfelt Hustle, the podcast that dives deep into the heart and hustle of entrepreneurship, where our dreams meet reality and where our passions fuel our success. I'm your host, Sushmita Jain, a launch strategist and operations director, founder of an outsourcing agency. Most of my clients call me their right hand woman, and most importantly, a curious soul as well as a nerd. I am here to share my experiences. I am here to share my insights. I am here to share practical tips that will help you build a thriving and a sustainable business. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or someone looking to infuse more heart into your hustle, I am here and this podcast is for you. Each week, we'll dive into topics ranging from reconnecting to your passions, your soul, your why, and overcoming the roadblocks of your growth journey. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dig into this heartfelt hustle together. Hi there and welcome. Well, today in this episode, I am going to share with you 7 lessons from my journey, my story, and my life. And yeah, that's what today is going to be all about. And I hope that you like them because I feel that these episodes are like, as I start going through or as I actually start walking this journey with you, to be very honest, I think these are going to be a lot more heartfelt episodes where I am going to either share with you my thought process, either share with you what's on my mind. And well, today I was actually making notes for this episode. And first, okay, how about right now I actually share what's my thought process right now at this moment with you guys? Because here's the thing, I want these episodes to be really raw. And the more, and in case if I write, I was literally on Notion and I was making notes. And first I wrote my bullet points for this episode. And I am going to be talking about these points and these lessons that I want to talk with you guys about. But after I wrote and I made notes of the bullet points of what I wanted to talk about, and once I started making notes for the, specific subtopics, and it was getting so long, I was like, oh my God, this episode might turn into a really long episode. And we definitely don't want it to be that way. I want these episodes to be a space for you every single week when we meet, while you are maybe working or driving and going to your office or about to hop on your car and go and pick up your son or daughter. And, you catch up and, it might lead you to some aha moments. It might lead you to, say, maybe an inspiration to maybe talk about something on your post and whatnot, because I'm going to be sharing action steps with you guys as well, of course. But yeah, I think I went on a tangent on that one. But yeah, let's come back to 7 lessons from my journey, my story, and my life, right? So I think one thing which I have and I feel has been a prominent theme in my life is embracing change and adaptability. Because if I wouldn't have been someone who would have not embraced change, and if I wouldn't have been as adaptable as I am, I think I would not have been here, to be very honest. Because if I look back at my story, if I look back at my journey, I've been quite open to change. Like, if we look at the time when I decided to actually change my profession, I did change and I did transition actually from being an engineer to first even doing a diploma, learning about web development. I did learn coding. I was trying to find my way and, work things out. And even I was working on management studies. So I did study that as well. So, I've been behind the scenes learning management, behind the scenes business administration. That's something that I've learned. I've learned web development. I've learned programming languages. I am an engineer. So and I specialize in biotechnology. And so I've been in the research industry. I literally even have a thesis which has been published and I've been part of, but I have never acknowledged it. But all of it has been about me embracing change. Like, I embraced change. I acknowledged my feelings that me, even though I have a job, even though I did, I could even apply for more campus interviews. I chose not to and rather change things up and find my way, because while others were still trying to go the highway which everyone else had told them was the highway for them, I was like, I don't feel it. I don't resonate with it. I know anyone and everyone, whether it's my classmates, whether it's everyone in my family, either being a banker, a doctor, an engineer, everyone has their role and I don't know where I fit in. I would love to test and tweak and see where this journey actually takes me. So I did go further with it. I did try a lot. Like, I did try my hands on and anything and everything I could, to be very honest. Like, I was someone who was handling sales. I was someone who was handling social media. I was someone who was handling entire marketing department for someone who I was working with, or, behind the scenes business administration. I was someone who was and who actually still is very curious and keen about stock market and the trading and mutual funds and stuff. I have my own investment portfolio till date, and I like work with my husband on that as well, but that's a different story and we don't want to talk about it here right now at the moment. But yes, I've always embraced a lot of change. Like, even when I was taking what I was doing as a freelance marketer to actually getting serious and growing it and, taking it to the next level, taking it global, taking it from someone who is picking on any random project coming her way to rather building her own brand, choosing her clients, and only accepting clients who are right now at the moment ready and understand what it is all about. It has been about embracing change. I have an agency, and when it comes to our agency, if you look at my social media, you will not see me actively promoting what we do, or me like every single month or every single week promoting our done for you services, because we are almost full all the time. But how does that happen? That happens with me building a brand, with me having my own systems for us to get leads or to even get referrals, which are going to fill our client spots. But obviously, that's strategic. Nothing that I do in my business is not strategic at all, right? So, how did I do that? I did work my way up. How did I run my agency, I have my consultation business, I have my membership, I am getting back, like, even right now, if we talk about embracing change, which we are, I'm right now still trying to work and, make sure I'm there for my son. And, I and my husband, we make sure that we have things running smooth. Again, that's we embracing change, because the way we were running a business before me having a baby is entirely different than how we are running a business right now. And if we look at it right now, I'm doing way more things than I was actually doing when I was just and only focusing on my agency. So it's very interesting, like the more I look back at things, the more I do get back and even just dive deep into my own thoughts right now as I am recording this episode. It makes me even jot down things to even further brainstorm on in my journal as well. So that's one more thing actually I'm loving about this podcast and recording the podcast at the moment as well. So yeah, it's always been about embracing the change. Like even when COVID hit, we did change things. We did embrace how, and when it comes to embracing change, it's not just about us, or it's not just about how we are changing or how our business and brand is changing. It's also about one thing I want you to understand and remember, because as I mentioned, COVID, I want to talk about this and I want to address this point as well, which is that changes are not just happening in us or in our business or within us or within our business, but they're also happening with other people who are associated with us, who are connected with us, like our clients. In my case, even my team. If you're someone who has a team, even you will understand that very, very well. Our team is evolving, our clients are evolving, our audience is evolving, and we have to embrace that change. We have to embrace the change of even how the market is changing, how people are thinking. And based on that, either we change how we offer things, we change how we deliver things, we change how we maybe are building the user experience for our clients. We adapt. So if we are someone who are not evolving, who is not embracing the change and not adapting, I think we might then become the dinosaurs of our age, and we definitely, or of our era, and we definitely don't want that. And again, when I talk about embracing change and adaptability, just this one lesson has so many layers to it. Like if I start peeling all of the layers, it would be a really long episode, but I want to, like address as many as I can right now that we are on it. Because when it comes to embracing changes, we have to embrace the change in the technology as well, right? So there was a time when chatbots did not exist, but they do now. And I'm not saying that you should be someone who should, implement chatbots in your business right from the first time you are running a launch, right from the first time you are getting a lead magnet out. But chatbots do work. They are going to boost, the engagement. They are going to help you nurture your clients further. So when it is the time when you can start investing in them, you do embrace the change and you start investing in them. But until then, if you haven't yet figured out email marketing, if you haven't figured out how you can, connect with your audience much better, apart from just social media via emails as well, well, you're not going to go for chatbot yet, but you will in the some time. But here's the thing, right? You have to embrace that change. You have to see how and when you would like to implement what in your business. And it is not about embracing change as in implementing something right from the first time you come across it, but slowly and gradually. Because if you look at my website right now, my website is undergoing some changes because we were using some systems until now, but now that we are gearing up for a lot of different things in my business, we decided to ditch few things. And yes, in your life, in your business, when you're embracing change, when you're adapting, it's not just about adding new things, but it's also about subtracting and removing bits which are not resonating with your business or life anymore as well. We're so busy adding new things in that we just, you know, forget to even remove things or delete or subtract or just, detox. You can't pick the term you want to, but you have to. Because if you're not, then all you're doing is you're adding new things on top of the other. But then that's just a pile of random stuff. It's not structured. It's not something which you have deliberately worked on, mapped out, finalized. So we definitely don't want that, right? So embracing change is very important, but anything and everything you do has to be thought of, brainstormed on, finalized, and then you move from one thing to the other. So, definitely, lesson number one is something that I want you to start thinking about. Like, I want you to see in your life and in business as well, where is it or in which aspect of your business you're not embracing change right now. And it might be change, as in maybe it is time for you to get rid of something, and you're just being stubborn about it. If that's so, it is time to move on. It is time to maybe test something else. It is maybe time to make some tweaks. Even making tweaks is something which I feel sometimes people find it very difficult to do. So if you're not doing something like that at the moment, again, embrace the change, adapt, switch things up the way they need to. But it's all about being part of the process as a test and making the analysis. And if you don't know how to make the analysis, ask the right people the right questions, because asking questions matter. If you're not going to ask questions, how are you going to even get your answers and work on things, right? So that's lesson number one. Oh my God, just lesson number one. I can still keep on talking. But let's move to the next one, which is the power of persistence. Because if you are not being persistent, then how are you even going to get things done, especially when it gets challenging? Like, I have had so many challenges in my life, so many challenges in my business, even right now, transitioning this phase as a new parent. And still, you know, as a new parent, I can say one thing: you still have the same wishes, you still have those dreams, you still have that long term vision, but you've got to be persistent, because now there's another person in the equation you had until now. So if you like, the reason I'm talking about equations is because all I can think about is I can think about it from a science perspective. And like when we are doing experiments, and I look at life as an experiment as well sometimes. So again, it's an equation. We did come up with a certain calculation for our life, as in what we want to do when, how we want to do it. But now, even as a kid who is 15 months old right now, he has his own needs. He's going to come up with his own demands, which were not part of my equation yet. Or he is going to fall sick. And again, that's not, or is not part of my equation yet. But I've got to be persistent, but I've also have to listen. And that's what heartfelt hustle is all about. We are hustling, but we're not in this crazy hustle, because I've been someone who has hit burnout, not once, but twice. And I've learned lessons from it. And when I look at my life, when I look at my business, when I look at how I want things to move forward, I want to be mindful of everything we do, because ultimately, this is the life I'm building. And if I'm building a life which I'm not happy about, if I'm building a life where I cannot in some way or the other make things work for my son and, make sure that I'm there for him, then what's the point? Because we are here because we wanted to build and design our own lives. And as a manifesting generator, I love to experiment. And when I love to experiment, sometimes things can get a bit challenging. But then that's the thing. For me, it's not about being motivated. For me, it's being more about being disciplined. And when I'm being disciplined, I still kind of like to keep things flexible. So it's not about exactly following the exact time blocks I have blocked out for myself. But then I do also kind of work out things in a certain way that even if it might get challenging, I can work things out with a plan B. So if you are someone who can't figure things out yourself and needs, like ideas, or if you need someone to brainstorm on, if you need to have a buddy who you can just have conversations with and, they can keep you accountable, challenging times will become much easier for you. And you can still be persistent, you can still test, you can still analyze the data you have and make things work better in your business, because it's life. It's sometimes going to get challenging, but it's not about just, giving everything up until now and ditching what you have been working. So definitely we don't want to do that. Okay, yeah, definitely went on tangent there. But yeah, so next, what I want to talk about and I want you to start thinking about is connections, like building genuine connections. Because for me, always it has been about building connections. If I am connected with people, if you have like, even you here are for a reason. Like, you've met me, or you are, now that you've met me, going to start following me. And I would love to build a certain level of connection with you, whether it's via my Instagram stories, whether it's via me in form of my life's journey or life's journal, me sharing my journey on Instagram with you via my Facebook posts, via my email newsletter, the Scaling Gazette. There are so many different ways I make sure I connect with my audience. But then it's not just about the audience, it's also about the genuine not collections, but connections I have built with anyone and everyone I've come across via my work. Whether it's my clients, whether it is people who I have met during networking calls, or, like the summits or bundles I've been part of. I love building connections, and these connections are obviously going to, in some way or the other, impact us. Either we meet friends, which I have met a lot. Like, I've made a lot friends, but then there are some very close friends who I am connected with and I love having conversations with on daily, because entrepreneurship sometimes can be very lonely. And it might feel lonely, especially if you do not have someone to talk to. Like, when I initially was like, if there have been so many different, like, it's been a decade-long journey, guys. So obviously there've been phases, there's been times when things have been very difficult, there has been so much happening. But here's the thing. My connections have helped me walk through anything and everything I've come across, which I really am genuinely grateful for, because yeah, it's lonely, it's difficult. And now I have started, or I've gone back to things like journaling, which I love, and I love connecting with my own emotions, processing them, understanding my own feelings, and even understanding my own thought process even better. But still, I love to have chats with my friends. I love to share my ideas with them. This podcast actually wouldn't be a reality if I wouldn't have had a conversation with my very good friend Guna about it. And yeah, it wouldn't have been a reality, guys. And if I wouldn't have had a word about this with her, or I will be sharing the journey behind this podcast on this podcast, in the coming episodes. But yeah, just something that I want to share. These genuine connections we build is how I am here today, is how I am connecting with all these amazing people who are still becoming part of this journey moving forward from here. So, how are you connecting with your connections? How are you connecting with your audience? How are you connecting with your clients? How are you connecting with anyone and everyone who is living around you as well? Because even those are our connections, aren't they? Think about it. Something I want you to start thinking about, right? Then, what's one thing that I've definitely learned and the hard way, and I want to mention on this episode, is the importance of self care. Because as I am in this transition phase where I am, connecting with myself more, I'm healing more, I'm actually making an attempt to I'm making an attempt to not just go through life, but actually reconnect and be me and be the more finer, better version of me versus what I've been before. Because I used to feel and believe that I'm someone who sucks at self-care. But if I look back at myself and my journey, it's not about sucking at self-care, but it's actually me not acknowledging myself that much. For me, all that mattered was work, work, work. For me, all that mattered was proving my point that the choices I've made in my life are right, but who cares, Like, yes, the choices I've made in my life are lessons, and the choices I've made in my life have brought me here. But if others do not get it, that's okay. Like, we don't have to be a sounding board trying to explain things to others. And I think the moment I started realizing that, I think the moment I stopped and I realized that it's okay if people don't get the decisions I make. It's okay if people who I want, to understand what I'm doing, why I'm doing, and I'm not getting it. They're not going to any which ways at the moment understand it. I stopped. It's a very interesting thing to talk about now that I'm talking about it, but yeah, so it made me look at myself, my decisions, how I take care of myself, what I do for myself from a different perspective. And it also made me look at myself much better, if that made sense. Let me know if that made sense, by the way, in the reviews or comments below, or tag me on social media if that made sense. My God, I did not even think that this episode would go that deep. But yeah, we are bringing my own emotions to the surface, I guess, at the moment. But yeah, so the importance of self-care, very important, because like I said, I've hit burnout twice. Once it was like the first burnout I hit was more of a physical burnout. So I was literally like in the ICU. I was paralyzed, and it was one of the most difficult times of my life. But then I I did get better. I did not hit a physical, but more of an emotional burnout, which was another big lesson for me that burnouts actually can come in different shapes and forms and styles and whatnot, whatever we want to call them. But yeah, it was another eye opening lesson for me. And yeah, that made me realize like it's not just about the physical body, but also mental body, mental health, mental well being, which mattered as well. And from where I come from, especially India, mental health is something that's not much talked about. Mental health is something, as in, if you talk about mental health, it like people don't actually openly discuss it, or now that there have people have started slowly opening it up or talking about it or having discussions about it or social media addressing it. But if we talk about it a decade or even 5 years prior from now, it was not the way it is right now. And it took me a long time to even address my own mental health, my own stress, my anxieties, or what I feel, how I feel, why I feel, and so many other things. But yes, self care is important because if we are serving from an empty cup, are we really serving? Does that even make sense? And we definitely don't want to do that, right? So, yeah, one thing I want you to make sure that every single day, make sure you are in some way or the other. I'm not a fan of every single day I'm gonna do this. I do have my routines. I do have how I want to start my day, end my day, but I pick, I plug and play kind of thing. So I do what I feel like and what I am in mood of. Even my music taste changes every single day. So how can I I don't want to have a very rigid routine because then it makes me feel more of a task versus it being something that I'm doing for myself, if that makes sense. So, yeah. So, self care is very important. I want you to start or start making sure that you're incorporating a bit of a self care every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year, however you want to take it. But every single day, the best way ever, right? Next, I want to talk about, and that is trusting your intuition. Because one more thing that I've learned the hard way is that sometimes we do not trust our gut. Sometimes we do not trust our feelings or what we are, really thinking about. Like when it comes to my own business, I did trust my gut and I did trust my intuition for me to switch careers, but I did not trust my intuition when it did come to a certain people, whether it was the associates I was working with, whether it was one of the partners I was working with before this agency that I run currently. But then I did learn lessons the hard way. And now I do always make sure it's more of actually making decisions based on how and what I feel, apart from just the strategy. So it's more of a mix of the strategic bits as well as what and how I feel about whether it's an idea, whether it's a decision. Even for this podcast, to be very honest, I was thinking about it for some time. I did share this idea, like I said, with my friends. We brainstormed on it. We discussed. I did think about it strategically, that how it's gonna play a role in my business. But I also did try recording my own voices. I did try and test how did I feel listening to my own voice. How did I feel me opening up via this channel with you guys as well? And that's how I made the decision of whether or not to go ahead. So here we are. And then when we are talking about our intuition, I also want to talk about we being vulnerable, we being our authentic version, because I mean, in today's time, to be very honest, I feel authenticity is a very overused term, but the reason why it is overused, or the reason why it is being used so much, is that we are craving to be more authentic. We are craving to be more us. We are craving to be more raw. We are craving to be in the moment, and we're craving to actually, like, even when you follow people, or even when you follow brands or influencers or other business owners who are somehow somewhere from our industry itself, it's how they're presenting and what part of their journey or story is that is resonating with us, and how they are sharing it, and how they're expressing themselves is what connects us with them, right? So it helps us build trust, it helps us build relationships, it helps us, get a peek into their lives. And that's something that I truly love about the era we are in, because it has so many amazing platforms in so many creative ways. We can just be us and still connect, build relationships, and even, like, on a global scale, it works so well. I mean, if I would have been doing what I'm doing right now in a slightly different way, I'm not sure if it would have been few years prior from now, the impact would have been the way it is, right? So, yeah, being vulnerable and being us and just opening up has a different energy of itself, or has a different vibe of its own as well. If you are listening this episode until this, oh my God, I love you guys so, so much, because I literally have no idea how these episodes are going to be panning out over the time. I have my rough calendar as to what I would like to talk about on these episodes, and how I want it to be, how you can learn and how we can connect, and how we can, connect further, build relationships as well. But it's also going to be a channel for me to express myself, be more me, be more vulnerable me as well. So we'll see, because that brings me to the next point that I want to cover and end this podcast episode with. I don't know how long this is going to be, but yeah. So, one thing I want you to start, and I'm sure you do this, but I want you to be more mindful about it, is that how are you growing? Like, start being mindful of your own growth, because the more we start connecting with our own growth journey, the more better it's going to help us see our own journey in a far more significant manner. Because once I started, and I've been working on this for past few months only, especially when it comes to my journey, my growth, how I've been evolving, how I have, had things or done things, or how life has been and things like that. I've been more reflective. I have been realizing more of, or maybe more about my learnings, my journey. I can somehow talk about it much more better and in more depth as well with my clients, even like when I'm sharing ideas and strategies with my done for you clients, or like how I'm gonna actually map out things for my membership. There's so much happening, but I feel more connected with these offers now, and the ideas and things I want to try out. Even me starting a podcast, the reason why I'm doing this is I can see I have so much to talk about. I have so much to share. And somehow I have been holding on it for so long and not opening up. But now as I look back on things and as I actually look back on my own growth and learning journey, it makes so much sense for me to open up, to talk about it, to share. And as I share it, it's also going to help me see more avenues to further enhance it, try it, test it, tweak it, and then again share it with you as well as my clients. Well, of course, I will share it more first with my clients, then further we'll test it, and I will share more things here as well, of course. But yeah, you get my point. So these are the 7 lessons from my journey, from my story, from my life that I wanted to share with you guys and open up about. I'm sure we will be talking about these more in the coming time because, oh my God, each of these can be separate episodes, to be very honest. But that's it for now, for today. And oh, this is the first episode. We are just getting started. And I cannot wait to share more with you. So if you are coming across this podcast for the first time, if you're meeting me for the first time ever, make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you are connected with me on Instagram and if you feel like this could be shared with one of your buddies, make sure you do because the more, the merrier, my friend. So that's it from me for today. I will be seeing you next week. And this is we just getting started, lovelies. See you soon.